Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Anything Liverpool. I'm here tonight, today, joined by Dylan, Arild, and Drew to discuss the game that we just had against Burnley. I don't know. I don't really know what to say. They've basically created nothing all game. It looked like it was going to end 0-0, but then at the end, something finally went our way. And uh, yeah, we're gonna get into that. But before we get into the game, I'm just gonna go around and ask the lads how they're doing. I'm still sweating, Dylan. How about you? Got over it?
Yeah, I'm good. I was feeling pretty frustrated for 94 minutes, and then 95th minute, obviously buzzing to finally get something out of the game. So yeah, really kind of frustrating for the most part. But take 3 points. I think I said it before. We could be sat here on 4 points, and instead we're sat here on 12. So take it for what it is, move on from it, and yeah, just look forward to hopefully seeing another game now where we hopefully get a result against City, or I don't not for the I want United to win or anything. Just a draw in that game will still be fine, so City don't pick up more points. But yeah, just move on from the Burnley game and leave it where it is and forget it now.
Yeah, it looked like it was gonna go Scott Parker's way, but yeah. Ariel, how about you, mate? How are you doing?
I'm exhausted. It's stressful to watch. This is the fourth game in a row with this kind of football. I'm glad football wins in the end when it comes to this kind of games. It's like it's exhausting. It's difficult. The first half was a nightmare to watch, to be honest. Second half was way much better, but as time flies, you're kind of yeah, you're just exhausted. But it's a fair win at the end.
Fair enough, Drew. How about you?
Good to see you, Mihai. I'm still tired. It's only 8 for me, so I was up at 6 to watch the game, and it was about as slow as I was this morning. And I'm actually kind of glad I wasn't more awake, because by the time it got to the end of the game, I was just like, please, let's just score. Let's just get lucky, something. And because if I was up in middle of the day or afternoon, I would have been having a panic attack, but I was too tired. But when Mo put it in, I was just thankful that we got the 3 points. How you doing, Mia?
A bit better now. Finally, there's the heat finally gave up, so it's good to be able to breathe. So yeah, but obviously we're still sweating during the game. Dylan, I think we were waiting for this type of game pretty much. We know how Burnley played, especially last season as well. I remember a tweet from a season holder of theirs, was kind of complaining about Scott Parker's play style with them drawing 0-0 so many games, especially at home. They have this whole, you know, not conceding thing first and then maybe we can nick it. It looked like it was going their way. To be honest, I don't even know how to say it. I think in the end, scoring in 95th minute, you could say we got a bit lucky, especially with this being the difference today. But I think it's kind of what Slot said recently. I think you can kind of make your own luck at times because we were relentless. We kept going, even though it was a bit slow at times. We were persistent, and in the end, we got the breakthrough. So 3 points, 12 points out of 12, looking good.
And like someone also said, Mihai, how many times have we seen United do this? I mean, it is luck. It is luck that his hand is outside, but it is because we are pounding that defensive wall for 94 minutes. That's why it happens, not because we were doing nothing and then, suddenly a fluke ball somewhere. It's because we did the hard work first. And good teams usually get rewarded in the end. Sometimes you do, but mostly you do.
Yeah, other teams play 7 defensive players and then rely on set pieces, but then we're not those teams. So, Dylan, what did you make of the game then?
Yeah, I saw before the game there was quite a lot of people obviously expecting us, because they're a new promoted team, we're the champions, they're expecting us to kind of blow them away. But like you touched on, me, in terms of last season, championship or not, you set yourself into kind of good habits in terms of what you expect from your setup and the kind of way you're going to play. I think last season, their home record, I think it was like 14 wins, 9 draws or something like that. They only conceded 3 home goals all last season. So they're obviously a team that is going to set up with a low block and just try and, like you say, rather than go to win the game first, they're making sure they try and not lose the game and try and build from there. And it's obviously how Scott Parker's trying to set them up in terms of how to play. And it's not the way I'd like to see my team play football. But if it's getting kind of results in terms of what you'd expect from it, then what can you say for a team like Burnley? It's what you expect. And credit where it's due in terms of that. We did create a lot of stuff, but they stuck exactly to their game plan and just kept a low block of 5 with Forsyth in front of it, trying to frustrate, trying to break up play. And to be honest with you, other than one stupid moment of stupidity from Hannibal towards the end of putting his arm up, they did a pretty successful job of it. So it's exactly the kind of game Burnley were hoping to kind of get from it. And other than 1 minute from the end, they were 0-0. So it is frustrating to see us kind of not be able to create a little bit more to break that down. But like he said, we just kind of stuck at it, didn't get frustrated with ourselves in terms of the players, just keep trying to get early crosses in, keep trying to find an extra man where we could when they had the red card. And eventually, one kind of mistake from Hannibal led to it. And Mo, funnily enough, just buries it away, having not been in the game for 93, 94 minutes himself. So what can you say for Mo Salah? It's just what he does, isn't it, in terms of more goals each game. But for 94 minutes, people are probably thinking, why is he still on the pitch? He hasn't done fuck all in the game. But eventually it comes good and he gets the goal. So that's what it is. That's what it does. And like I said before, it feels like we could be potentially sat here on 4, 5, 6 points instead. Somehow we're sat here on 12, having won all of the 4 games late on in the game. So take it for what it is and move past it. Frustrating afternoon, but 3 points is 3 points at the end of the day. Come the end of the season, we won't care if the fact that it was a frustrating 95th minute equaliser, winner even, we'll just be like, 3 points is what we needed from the game. So take it.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, that's what matters. Obviously, frustrating, but we got the 3 points, and at the end of the season, as you said, we're not going to remember how we got them, but rather that we did get them in the end. Ariel, I was thinking, usually, even though it is extremely frustrating to play against a low block like this one, I think you can kind of look at it in the sense of it's a challenge on our part, basically, because we were expecting this type of play stuff from Burnley, and I think instead of saying how they're playing this anti-football and this sort of tactic, I would just say that it's down to us to prove why we're champions, to break them down in the end. And I think the way to do it is basically what we did today. Just be patient with it, be relentless, be persistent, and try and break them down. And in the end, it may take a bit of luck, but we did get it. So overall, your thoughts on the game?
Well, I agree with both you and Dylan. I agree that this is what you expect from the newly promoted teams and the lesser good teams in the league, and I have no issues with that at all. I mean, they should do that in those games because they're not looking to win those games. They're trying to get something out of it as a bonus. So no disrespect to Burnley in that sense, but we have to be more. We can't waste 45 minutes before we start to have pace on the ball, movements in front. We can't throw away one half every time we meet this kind of football. We win the games, we get the points, and that shows that we are champions. But we have to be better at it. We have to start early. If we had done this earlier, they would have been more fatigued, which would have given us maybe 1 or 2 or 3 goals in the end. But when we let them walk around and defend easily for 45 minutes, we're kind of giving them a chance to lay the low block for a very long time. And an issue here is also, I can't pronounce his name, Leslie should have been sent off on the tackle on McAllister. I mean, the low block wouldn't have gotten any bigger or smaller if it would same, but they should have been down 10 men. So how that's not a red card by VAR, I have no idea. I know who was in the VAR bus, so I know why it didn't get called back, but it's still shambles.
Yeah, I think at this point, to be quite honest, it's not even that we're angry. It's just that we're kind of getting used to it at this point. And it's frustrating. Yeah. It keeps on happening every single time. But I think the good thing in the end, Drew, is as we said, we got the 3 points, and it's 12 out of 12, 4 wins on the first four, and it's still like we're playing in second gear, and it's still we didn't really get going, which is even more important. And now looking at it, I think what would have been even more frustrating is to drop points now after winning against St. James's and winning against Arsenal, getting the big games out of the way. You were thinking that Burnley and Everton need to be 6 points, and then we'll reassess after it.
Yeah, and also one thing I want to talk about is Wirtz. He tries a lot. He in these kind of games, he's when there's a low block and there's a few yards between the defense and the midfielder, he has no impact on the game. He just vanishes. I think we got better when we got the other ones in, the last substitutions we got in there. And I'm not putting Wirtz down or anything. I'm just he doesn't do well when there's no space for him to work in.
We'll get into that a bit later as well. But yeah, Drew. In the end, 3 points. So, what did you think of the game?
I think Scott Parker was remembering the 9-0 drumming that we gave him when he was manager of Bournemouth, and very much did not want the repeat there. Obviously, different team with Burnley, different setup, but I think Harold was saying like we can't keep waiting until the second half to get going. I agree. We need to. I think Slot's just managing like I think the first two games, going 2-0 up and then ending up 2-2 at both stages of the game. I think he's trying to rein in some more control and not let that situation happen. But it's also like, because I'm thinking like this stage early in the season, you don't want like the games to be that hectic and that much energy to be spent by the players. So I'm wondering if this game was more like, let's cruise through it. Let's step up the tempo in the second half and then let's put on the gas then. Let's not be hectic the entire game. But when it gets down to the 95th minute and it's still 0-0 and we're relying on a handball, like that's also not great moving forward. But at the end of the day, as you said, 3 points is all that matters. But the fact that we have like 5 different players in the squad, like new players trying to integrate that, and we're 12 for 12, I think that's all that matters at the end of the day. Kirkus getting pulled off in the first half, Slot's still trying to find the best way to get this team to work. Being top of the table is all that matters in terms of this early start, and just trust Klopp to get it right going forward. And then Isak coming in.
Trust Klopp?
Slot. I'm sorry. It's early. It's early, Harold. It's early. But yeah, 12 points, all that matters. Trust Slot to get us clicking when we need to.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think that's one thing that I don't really feel like it's talked about enough. Like, you can just slot 5 new players in a team and then expect them to just gel immediately and to work out perfectly. And I think it's going to take a bit of time. But as you said, the fact that we haven't dropped points yet, even though our performances were, let's say, not the best at times, I think it just kind of shows the resilience that you kind of need to win the Premier League. Because obviously, if you drop points from the beginning, then the pressure builds up, and then it's going to get tougher on the new players as well, and the manager to kind of find solutions. Dylan, talking about the new players, well, not necessarily about them, but looking at it during the 95 minutes, it is fairly, I'd say, difficult to necessarily single someone out who is once again, one of the best players on the pitch. I would ask you to kind of name a few players and maybe tell me your thoughts on who impressed, who kind of let you down today. I think for me, if I were to start, again, it looked like Virgil van Dijk, even though if he didn't really have a lot of things to do. Every single situation, every single counterattack that he had to stop, he did so perfectly. It's almost like he didn't even give away a corner or a throw-in or a free kick. He looked like, once again, back to his imperious self. Looking at the past 2 or 3 games with Van Dijk, it looks like he's back at his best, in my eyes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in this type of situation as well, it is like you say, where they are just kind of sitting with a low block and almost try to counter attack when they got an opportunity to. Which, let's be fair to them, they didn't really get much of an opportunity, because I think I even saw in the stats during the game it said something like we had 93% possession over a 10-minute period. So they had very little of the ball to actually have a counter attack from. But even those times where they did have a couple of opportunities for Lyle Foster to kind of break away or Jaden Anthony to kind of break away, it just looks kind of effortless and imperious for him to kind of catch up to them and just sweep up play without even thinking about it. And that almost makes it look like Burnley aren't even trying to attack, just because how effortless he made it look like he's broke up play. So yeah, Van Dijk was very, very good today in terms of that. But like you said as well, he didn't have a lot compared to some games, which he might have to do compared to kind of chasing strikers and have to break up link up play as well. But I think for me, our best player today was probably Ryan Gravenberch in terms of the link up of kind of a little bit more patient, kind of make sure we're still ticking the ball side to side and trying to find the wingers at times. Some of his little flicks and tricks today were quite silky as well, but just like to see a couple of times where we just needed to get a shot away a little bit quicker. Sometimes one or two more touches than necessary just outside the box. I think the one from Szoboszlai was a good strike that Dubravka saved, but a couple of times I think I read 13 or 14 blocked shots from the edge of the box. Just showed we just weren't getting it slightly quick enough away to kind of make anything of these kind of chances as they were coming up. And that, like I said earlier, it comes to a kind of credit from Burnley's point of view as well. They were just sitting in that block and just shifting side to side to try and kind of cut off any spaces from us. So you do have to give them credit where it's due as well in terms of that front. But just like to see us move the ball slightly quicker. He said about other kind of players as well. Wingers weren't really that involved in the game today. Gakpo had a quiet game. Salah had a quiet game. It's hard when teams are kind of sat in to get them a little bit more involved, but slight bit more of rotation maybe in terms of midfielders supporting them. And like today, where Szoboszlai's potentially having to play right back against Newcastle, it was more he was having to do the defensive kind of side of it and more athleticism. Whereas today, because we're going to dominate the ball, you want someone who's maybe going to overlap in a little bit and kind of link up with Salah. So maybe that side of things we're missing today, with maybe Bradley not playing the full game or Frimpong linking up with Salah down the sides, and vice versa. Kirkes had a bit of I want to say a stinker, but it wasn't really. A couple of mistakes where he potentially got that yellow card and we couldn't really risk it, so I had to bring Robertson on. Link up wasn't really there on that side with Gakpo today. So just in kind of future games where they are going to sit in low blocks, like I say, just getting overlaps and kind of overrunning them in a few areas would have been a little bit nicer, so the wingers could get into play a little bit more rather than kind of frustrating in the way they were at times. But yeah, Gravenberch for me today just kept us ticking over, just kept the patience there, just to keep saying, let's keep moving them side to side and eventually, hopefully, something will come.
Yeah, Gravenberch and Szoboszlai as well, I think, were the other two that I was kind of thinking about. They were really good today as well, again. And Ariel, talking about Szoboszlai, another game for him at right back. And it kind of makes you, it's one of those headaches again that Slot's going to have in the next few weeks. Frimpong is obviously a great player at right back from an attacking point of view, and even pretty solid defensively, I'd say. A lot more solid than I would expect it of him, especially. And then also Bradley coming into that, I think he did great. He had quite a few times where he was under pressure, and then he got the ball off away from dangerous areas, away from our box pretty easily. So looking at it, who impressed you today, and how do you see that right back spot in the upcoming weeks?
I think I agree with Slot when he said don't change what's working. I agree that he started with them as long as, and he pointed out what I've talked about here on the stream earlier, is that Conor Bradley has already played 2 international games. He's back from injury. He didn't want to overuse him and risk another injury. And Frimpong is still recovering. So he was not also ready. So I agree with Dom starting at right back. But you see what we're losing when it comes to the midfield and the attacking options. Because he brings so much. He has a good shot. He runs. He's almost like a Gerrard. I mean, he's all over the place. He has a good shot. He has good passes. I think him moving into the midfield was a big part of why we got better in the second half. Not only just him, but Bradley going on right back, doing a lot good, like Dylan said. So I think the right back it's going to be tricky. I think that it's going to be a luxury problem to have both Bradley and Frimpong available. I think that's going to be a positive headache for Slot. But I also think that he will probably, where he needs a fullback, I think he's going to play Bradley. And when he needs someone offensively, he's going to play Frimpong. And I think Frimpong also can be substituted in the midfield and, go and all up from there as well. So it's going to be exciting to see how Slot solves this one when the games keep coming and both are available.
Yeah. Well, Drew, as we said, not necessarily a lot of players that impressed, mainly because there wasn't a lot of room for them to do so, especially in the final third. Is there someone who you'd like to single out, and maybe someone who you're worried about? I think Carl touched on someone we were all thinking about a bit earlier.
I think Dylan and Earl touched on the players I was impressed with this game. Shout out to Gravenberch. I thought his control of the midfield, his turning on the ball and dictating play from there as much as possible with Burnley's low block was very, very impressive. The only one I'm really worried about is Kirkes. I think he'll get it right, but he's just seems like very anxious teenager vibes, kind of really wants to do well and is doing a bit too much. I don't think he needs to do anything different than Bournemouth or that kind of mentality, but it's obvious that he really, really wants to do well. And hopefully Robertson and Van Dijk and everyone else can just calm him down, because he's got the quality to succeed and, provide what he's skilled at into the team. I think him getting subbed off at the first half should give him that pause to hopefully look in the mirror, learn from those around him, and bring a maturity to his game going forward. Still very young, so got to give him some slack, but definitely worried at moments getting Moreno flashbacks. But the other one with Verts, I'm actually not as worried. I think people are gonna attack the numbers, being like, oh, 116 million pound player, he needs to be scoring 20 goals a season. I'd hope between 10 and 15, but at the same time, the chemistry of the team's not there yet. When you see these little misplaced passes, they don't know each other yet. I think when we all probably would agree, the Mane, Firmino, and Salah moments where they just the sync between those three, the fluidity was just beautiful to watch. They don't have that yet, and there's no reason to expect that this early on. There's those misplaced passes like McAllister and Verts where they're just a little bit off because they're unsure of where the other person's going to be on the pitch. This is a whole mix of new players playing together in very intricate ways. So I'm not as worried about Verts. I just want him to get that confidence to take more shots. I think he's there were a couple moments where he waited an extra second or tried to play an extra pass when it's there were also a few moments where he just had people on strings and ended up get the shot getting blocked. It didn't work out, but I just think they're still trying to find that flow, that gel, and I would love to see just more confidence, how how Gakpo just takes the ball and takes a shot, what he's going to do and he's confident. Still think Verts is finding how to best operate, but I'm not as worried about Verts. Kirkes is the only one I'm I really hope he matures quickly.
Yeah, hot-headed is the word that I was thinking about when you described Kerkez. I feel like against Arsenal, he was really, really good. I really liked him against Arsenal. I think he really took care of Madueke, even though he was apparently Arsenal's best player. But that's another story. Before going into all the other things, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon. If you're over on Twitter, make sure to come over to YouTube. Leave us your thoughts in the comments on your game. Who was your man of the match? What did you think of the game? If you're worried about anything in particular, we'd love to kind of have your thoughts and integrate them in these conversations. Dylan, It is 12 points out of 12. So we started off really well, in terms of results at least. However, I wouldn't necessarily say that we necessarily got out of second gear, as I said at the beginning of the stream. It still looks like, and and as Drew said a bit earlier, it still looks like the chemistry is not there quite yet, which is completely understandable. But is there any sort of doubt in your mind around the new players, around how they're fitting into this system, and about the future?
No, not for me. In all honesty, I'm not worried about much at all. So, I remember the start of last season. It's actually pretty interesting. At the start of last season, I think we were about 8, 9, 10 games in, and everyone was still like, Liverpool haven't played anyone yet. That's why they're top of the league. This, that, and the other. This year, we haven't even played well yet, and we're on 12 points. So people can say whatever they want. It doesn't bother me in any way, shape, or form, as long as we continue to pick up 3 points. I mean, it's not very good for the heart to have to keep doing it in the 88th, 89th minute, and so on and so forth. But as long as we still keep picking up 3 points, I could care less whether people think we're playing well or not. And in terms of the players themselves, again, I'm not really worried. I think, like Drew touched on there, Kirkaz just needs a bit of an arm around the shoulder, someone to be talking his ear a little bit. You don't need to just dive in. You don't need to be so rash. You've got the technical ability. You're clearly a good player. So just let that speak for itself rather than kind of jumping in and being a bit antsy about making sure you get the ball back. But I think that's just eagerness to impress more than anything else. I think he just wants to come in and show what he can do straight away. And in terms of Florian Wirtz, people, again, kind of social media, the way it is, people are always like, oh, he hasn't got any goals or assists or anything like that. Again, as the season comes on and he comes into all kind of competitions, the Champions League, the Premier League, eventually you'll see the kind of player he is. He's shown it over the last couple of years for Bayer Leverkusen, the quality he obviously has. So eventually that's going to start to shine through once he comes in. In terms of him in our team, when you look at our team over the last couple of years, we've played with kind of a fluid three. We haven't really had that number 10 since Coutinho, who is a natural number 10 to kind of sit behind them. So that link up is going to take time to kind of develop and start to come through over time. So in terms of it right now, I'm not worried in any way, shape or form. People can say what they want. As long as we keep doing what we're doing, that's all that matters to me.
Yeah, fair enough. I think with Wirtz, I think, with pretty much any new player that signs, I feel like social media is the one enemy that they have that former players didn't really have. Maybe it started like, let's say, 10 years ago when all of this Twitter nonsense. I think we even saw Fabrizio Romano. How crazy is that? We saw Romano tweet at halftime. Basically, he had that Mo Salah in the first half, 0 shots, 0 chances, 0 whatever. It's like engagement farming, even by someone like Romano with so many, followers or likes or whatever you want to call them. It's just insane. But yeah, that's kind of my worry too, though, regarding Wirtz. I think the only thing I'm worried about regarding him is how he's going to respond to the pressure, because obviously I don't question his footballing ability. I feel like he's one of the top talents in Europe in his age bracket, especially. But I think it's going to get loud if he doesn't get something soon. And that's mainly the reason why I'd really like for him to be involved in this on the score sheet in the next few games. But Ariel, looking at it, not necessarily the easiest start to the season. Newcastle and St. James's was obviously difficult. Arsenal at home, difficult again. Burnley, we saw how they played. They didn't really give someone like Wirtz a lot of space to kind of, play with, let's say. And now even next week we're going to play Everton, and we know how they're playing usually and how they're more interesting, and probably I can already see them targeting Wirtz and trying to get on his nerves with a few dirty tackles and with the way they play usually. So it's not necessarily the easiest start with regarding his Premier League career. So how do you see the next few weeks, and how are you worried about anything else in particular?
No, not really. I think it's hard for Wirtz to adapt, because it's all a bit faster, a bit more physical than he's used to. That's why, like Dylan said, when he has the possibilities or has to pass the ball or shoot or anything, he uses a second he doesn't have anymore. He's used to have that second, and he doesn't here, and that will be something he learns. So I'm not really worried about anything. The only thing I'm more worried about that we're still stuck in second gear. I mean, for me, it's kind of we are our own worst enemy. Because if I mean, Burnley will play like they do. Newcastle is tough. Arsenal is tough. Everton is tough. Everything is tough, and that is okay. But we have to get better. And if we get 5% better or 10% better, we are going to have an easier game for ourselves. We can't expect the opposition to not play a low block or not try to tackle us out of style or not do this or not do that. We have to get better ourselves, and we have the quality, we have the players, we have the manager, but we're still stuck in second gear. And as I said earlier, we can't waste 45 minutes every game to get starting. We have to get better at what we are good at, and then everything else will come by itself.
Yeah, Drew, looking at it, as we've mentioned, I think you could say we got a bit lucky during the last few games, and now especially with the Champions League starting and with the Goodison Derby next week. Goodison Derby. Well, anyways, the derby that we have next week against Everton. I don't know where my mind was at. But yeah, with the derby that we have next week as well, it looks like the games are going to start coming, every 3 days, and it's kind of getting important, as Arl said, to kind of get out of second gear as soon as possible, because Atletico is going to be an extremely difficult one again midweek, and then we obviously have like 2 days to kind of recover until playing Everton. So how do you see this whole situation? Are you worried about anything at all?
Not really, just because we've given ourselves the start that we need in terms of points. Like, that's where, like, when it was getting to be 0-0, like, at the end of the game, like, for me, I was kind of, we gave ourselves a little wiggle room. Like, it's not ideal. This is not the team you should be dropping points to, but fair play. They set up really well and executed their game plan. Kind of reminded me flashbacks to when we lost to Nottingham Forest after the international break last year, like game 5. Like, everyone, myself included, was very upset that we lost that game, except for a few cool heads. But for me, it's as long as we learn, and we need that time to gel and move together. But it seems like Slot has already implemented a more stable defense. Like, that message is coming through. Like, the fact that he subbed off Kirkez in the first half, like, he didn't want any instability from my perspective in the defense. Like, didn't want to worry about that. So for me, that it's still tinkering, finding the best to get out of the side. So as far as worried about the upcoming games, I think he has enough tools at his disposal to get the results. The fact that we've already gotten the results so far, a lot of that is luck, but we also have the players who are stepping up in the right moments and taking those chances. So that's where I have faith that we're going to get through this period. I'm also not as concerned now about Champions League with that, getting first in the table last year and then getting PSG. So I think we'll comfortably get in the very least at the top 16. Top 8's probably all that matters. So I'm actually excited for more games, and then the League Cup the following week, just to give players more chance to get game time in, and then time playing together. So for me, more games means more chance to get to know how each other plays, and more chances for Slot to find the right combination to make things click. So I'm excited.
Yeah, fair enough. And I think, Dylan, as you said, I think last season it was we didn't play anyone yet until I think Chelsea at home. I think that was the one. And then this season we haven't played well yet, but as you said, it's still been a really good start to the season. Obviously, if you don't really take the Community Shield into account, I suppose, but at least we've avoided the curse, so there's that. Looking at it, it's going to be Atletico on Wednesday night, and then once again, haven't we missed it? 12:30 kickoff on Saturday after the Champions League game. It's like, I think there was the craziness 2-3 seasons ago. I don't really recall. I think it was 2 seasons ago where we kept on playing Wednesday, and then it's like every single freaking week it was 12:30 on Saturday. It's going to be that time of we're gonna play on 12:30 again against Everton. What can we expect? Someone in the comments was saying that Isa could play Atletico. I would highly doubt that. I think him not being in the squad today, I think if he had played 20, 30 minutes, maybe you could think about it. But in this situation, I'm not really sure. What can we expect from the next 2 games and from this week?
Champions League wise for Atletico game, I think everyone knows what Atletico are going to come and be like. They're going to be a team that kind of comes to frustrate. The thing is, they do have the quality of Julian Alvarez. They've got other players like that as well. So there is that quality that they can bring to the side of it as well. In terms of people like Isak, I'm with you. I can't see him playing that game unless if it's 0-0 with 15 minutes left or something like that, chucking him on to see if we can get a goal. But otherwise, I'd be very surprised if he gets a lot of game time in that. Everton, again, I think if he does play that, it'll be 20 minutes, half an hour towards the end. And then I would expect his first start probably to be the Southampton game in the EFL Cup and maybe get an hour in that and see how far he can get into that. But yeah, with him not playing today, I think it looks now that we've won 1-0, you can go, it's the right kind of move, given that bit of time. But when it's 0-0 and you're thinking, if we had that striker on, you could do something a bit different, maybe that would help. But yeah, it is what it is in terms of him not playing today. In terms of the next few days, though, I think if we get a positive result against Atletico Madrid, and like Drew said, the Champions League now, it doesn't feel like we have to win every game in it like last season where we wanted to finish first and then we ended up with PSG anyway. As long as we get a good results at home and a few good results away and get ourselves through comfortably, that's all that matters from that in terms of the group stage. In terms of next week against Everton, the derby always is what it is. Hopefully we can kind of break them down. If we get an early enough goal in that, we can break them down fairly early and Everton won't frustrate us like other teams have managed to do over the next couple of weeks. But as long as it's not, even if it is 88th, 89th minute again, I'll still take it if we win the game. But I'd rather it's not and we can score early on and enjoy the game a little bit more. But yeah, no, I think positive results, hopefully, both games the next couple of weeks. And like Drew said, hopefully different cup competitions. We can see some of the new players, potentially like Leone and stuff, have a game in the Southampton game and just kind of see what other people can bring to the team as well over the next few weeks.
Yeah, I think Drew made a pretty good point. I think with the more games that we have, the more chance of we can actually see the team click. And the more they play together, obviously, the better they're going to get. Ariel, as Dylan mentioned, at this point, it's not like we're desperate to win every single game that we play, but we're still obviously going to probably have probably the strongest level you can expect on Wednesday. And then it's only 2 days until Everton. So is team rotation going to be a thing for us in the next week, do you think?
I think the biggest team rotation will happen against Southampton in the League Cup. I read somewhere that Slot has said that Isaac is now ready to play about 45 minutes. So I've said all along that I think we will see him first against Southampton, but I think maybe if Slot says he's ready for 45 minutes, then I think he can play before that. I think he can get minutes already on Wednesday or against Everton. I think if what he said is correct, I think he's going to try and give him some minutes before the Everton game, so he can come in there and maybe have an impact if we meet the same block as we've made in the last 2 games. I also think we're going to try and win every game to get the top spot, because I think UEFA did some changes to the ranking that would make the top spot more lucrative this year than last year. So I think he's trying to play almost the same 11 as always, to get them to work together, to click, like Drew said, and the European game is one of those chances. I'm also wondering what Drew thinks about now that Kirkis has been subbed off 2 times already. What will that do to his mentality? I mean, we saw Kanesh got subbed off in the first game against Ipswich last year. He never really came back. So I'm kind of thinking to the room here. What about him? He's young, yeah, but he's kind of had 2 hard blows in being subbed due to a stupid yellow card, and so I'm curious about what people think about that.
Oh, for me, it's it's time to show what you have. Like, I think it's very clear that Slot has implemented, especially with the transfers out this summer. Like, if you're not up to par where he thinks you should be as a player, you're not going to play. So I'd be hoping that Kirkes takes this as like a warning shot and gives it his all, and then learns from the experienced players around him. I think when Kwanzaa got subbed off, he was very upset. I thought, like, right reaction, and Slot spoke to that mentality. He wants that. You shouldn't be happy getting subbed off. But I hope he learns from it and moves forward. Because Robertson, I thought he did pretty well when he came on. Probably had our best chance of the game in open play. Not saying you expect that from him every game, and I don't think we should have him at his age be our starting left back every game. So I think just because of that and Simicas out the door, unless Slot starts to put like Frimpong at left back, or Gomez or Bradley, like experimenting that, Kirkes will get a chance again to show whether or not he's learned from it. So confidence-wise, if you want to make it at this top level, you have to take this on the chin and learn from it, move forward, and improve as fast as possible.
Yeah, and I think there's also this the difference, I think, with Gerkes is that he did play really well against Arsenal. I feel like even though he had his moment where, today where it didn't really go his way, I think he did get a bit of confidence out of that. So I think at this point, I think Robertson did play really well today when he came on, and I think there is an argument to be made that you can start him on Wednesday against Atletico. But obviously, as we've said, and I think as we've touched on in the beginning of the stream, I think what's great is that we now have this, or Slot has this headache where he can have these players that are really good on their own positions, and he can have a choice now. Whereas last season, maybe he didn't really get that as much. So obviously, there's I think, as we've said, there's it's great to have the choice. Basically, that's what I was trying to say. So yeah, with that in mind, I think we're going to end today's live stream. Thanks a lot to Dylan, to Ariel, to Drew for joining, and to you, obviously, for being with us tonight. And obviously, if you're new, make sure to like, subscribe to the channel, and make sure to be here in the next few days. We're going to stream tomorrow, we're going to stream on Wednesday, and obviously pretty much any day there's a game to be played, we're going to stream before or after it here on YouTube and on Twitter, obviously. So once again, thanks a lot to the lads, and thanks a lot to you at home, and until next time.